Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today we are going to present ITT633 group project titled Cybersecurity. We choose CIMB Group Holdings Berhad as the company for this project. Before we go further, let me introduce my team. The first one is Tanya Zulaika binti Zulkarnain. The second one is Siti Nur Adibah binti Muhammad Said. And the last one is me, Yorna Jauda binti Nur Azmi. Without wasting any time, let's move to the introduction of cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is a method of safeguarding networks and devices from external threat. Generally, many businesses will hire cybersecurity professionals to secure information, preserve staff productivity, and boost customer confidence in the products and services that provided by the company. Only authorized users can access the data, which means that the authorized user can add, modify, or delete the information. According to PAL 2020, it states that in today's environment, cybercrime is a worldwide issue that has been made the headlines in the media. And individual security is jeopardized, but major international corporations, banks, and government are even more vulnerable. With so much information out there to hack, cybersecurity has become more crucial. It's fair to say that today's generation relies mostly on the internet, and many users are totally unaware of how those various bits of ones and zeros access the computer safely. It is a great age for the hackers. Black hat hackers are having a difficult time exposing gaps and constructing malware since there are so many access points, public IP addresses, continual traffic, and lots of information to attack. Furthermore, cyber attackers are become more sophisticated day by day. Hackers are advancing rapidly and even more inventively with their software. Yet, many customers are still confused as to how they get over malware inspections and firewalls. There are a lot of security challenges faced in 2020, such as IoT attacks, cloud attacks, BYOD policies, and many more. But in this project, we are focusing on 3 attacks that faced by CIMB Group Holdings Berhad, which are ransomware attack, phishing attack, and insider attack. We will discuss these attacks in detail and come out with solutions to overcome those attacks. For the next chapter, which is the literature review, I will pass to Dania Zulaika to brief about the company background.
CIMB Group Holdings Berhad was founded in January 2006 and it is headquartered in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. CIMB is a Malaysia-based financial services and banking company. As of March 2021, CIMB Group is Asia's 5th largest banking group with 34,000 of workers and over 16 million of customers, and it lead the group in Islamic finance. CIMB Group Holdings Berhad also have been listed on Bursa Malaysia's main market since 1987 with market capitalization of 46.2 billion ringgit. CIMB Group offer a comprehensive range of banking services such as consumer banking, wholesale banking, and commercial banking. So for consumer banking, it provides traditional and Islamic financial products and services to individual consumers, including residential and non-residential property loan, automobile lending, credit cards, and wealth management. Next, for commercial banking, it offers a wide range of goods and services to small and medium-sized businesses, including core banking credit facilities, trade financing, remittance, and foreign currency. Lastly, for wholesale banking, it includes investment banking, corporate banking, treasury and markets, and transaction banking.
Now, we're going to present in detail about the attack involved. The first one is ransomware attack, which is a type of harmful software or we call malware used by the cyber criminals. The second one is phishing attack. It is widely used to obtain sensitive information from the users. And the last one is insider attack. It is an attack that doesn't require difficult implemented in discovering victims' information. So let's move to the first attack, which is the ransomware attack. Ransomware attack is a type of harmful software, or we call malware, used by the cyber criminals to extort money from the victims in exchange for the release of the data or access to a computer system. Usually, the victims are made to pay a ransom to the attacker after the data has been encrypted. In many cases, the ransom demand comes with a deadline. It means that if the victim fails to pay on time, the data will be erased. Cybercriminals will target any individual or company, and victims will come from a variety of industry, including large corporations. CIMB Group Holdings Berhad could be the target of such an attack. According to a research, in 2020, ransomware affected 51% of survey firms, and it is projected that every 11 seconds in 2020, a company will be targeted by ransomware. Since the implementation of COVID-19, cybercriminals have begun to target additional entities, including schools, government institutions, and bank companies such as CIMB Bank. There are two types of ransomware that are very popular, which are local ransomware and crypto ransomware. The local ransomware locks the victim out of the computer or mobile device by encrypting the screen. This means that the victim has no access to the operating system or other network services on the computer or mobile device. Then, a blackmail message will pop up on the screen in a cycle. As a result, the victim will be compelled to use the ransom request window in order to pay the ransom. However, local malware rarely targets essential data. It primarily aims to lock the user out. As a result, the possibility of entire data deletion is dubious. Next type of ransomware attack is a crypto ransomware. Crypto ransomware is a sort of malicious software that encrypts data on a computer or mobile device in order to enforce payment. Crypto developers often encrypt the victim's important data, such as pictures, videos, and documents. However, it must not obstruct essential computer functionality. At the end, many victims pay the ransom only to regain access to their personal data. For the next attack, I will pass back to Dania Zulaika.
An attack that involved in CIMB Group was a phishing attack. So phishing attack is a cyber attack that is widely used to obtain sensitive information from the user, such as login credentials and credit card details. So phishing attack usually happen when an attacker poses as a trustworthy entity and convinces a victim to open an email or a text message. Then the receiver is duped into opening a malicious link, which can result in malware installation. Then individuals may also experience terrible consequences as a result of an assault, such as money theft and identity theft. There are two most common types of phishing attacks, such as deceptive phishing and whaling. So for deceptive phishing, fraudsters pose as a real company to obtain people's personal information or login passwords. So threat and a sense of urgency are used in this email to terrify the recipient into doing what the attacker wants. So many attackers try to avoid being detected by email filter by including legitimate links in their phishing emails. So they could accomplish this by supplying contact information for a spoofing organization. Apart from that, a person in charge of designing phishing landing pages frequently mix dangerous and innocuous code to deceive Exchange Online Protection EOP. Next, for the next type of phishing attack is whaling. It is a type of spear phishing that target big fish such as CEO, and other high-value targets to acquire sensitive information from a corporation. Really is a type of social-based digital fraud that entices victim to do an attack, authorizing high value wire transfer to the attacker. So the most target organizations are financial institutions and payment services. So as you can see, CME are prone to be attacked. Then really emails are most advanced than basic emails. So they will write the email with a thorough command of business jargon and tone. So the victim will not suspect anything from the attacker.
For example, in 2008,
Fraudsters sent emails to corporate CEOs claiming to have FBI subpoenas attached. In fact, they installed keyloggers on the CEO's computer, and the scammer had a 10% success rate, netting nearly 2,000 victims.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Siti Tamar Adiba. So today I'm going to present loss of security challenge in CIMB Bank. So loss of security challenge is insider attack, and insider attack is a threat that arises inside the company. It typically entails a current or former worker or company colleague who has unauthorized access to sensitive information or restricted credentials on a company's network. Basically, there are three types of attack. First type is turn clock. Turn clock, also known as malicious insider. A turn clock is a malevolent insider who steals data. He is usually a worker or freelancer who is meant to be on the network and has unauthorized privilege, but misusing their privilege for pleasure or profit. For example, an individual with a vendetta against a former worker, or an unscrupulous worker who has exposes confidential knowledge to a competition. Since they are acquainted with an organization's safety rules and regulations, including its flaws, turn clock gets a benefit over other hackers. Okay, second type is a careless insider. Careless insider is unwitting victim who reveals the organization to external enemies. This has been the most prevalent sort of insider attack, and it occurs as a result of human error, such as leaving a gadget unattended or succumbing to a hoax. For example, a worker who has no malicious intent could click on an unprotected link and contaminate the system with malware. So the last type of attack is mole. A mole is an imposter who has gained insider information to a privileged network despite being nominally an external. That's somebody who impersonates a worker or collaborator outside the company.
Next, we move to the scenario that occur in the organization. Okay, the first scenario is related to CIMB system illegally hit by ransomware in 2019. For the past years, CIMB customer service has been flooded with complaints and criticism online over technical difficulties where the customer were facing when trying to access their banking services. Okay, there is claim posted by Twitter user Aizat Fahmi. It states that CIMB servers were hit with a ransomware attack. However, CIMB Group Holdings denied this allegation, and that is customers have always been able to perform their transaction as usual. CIMB also admitted that they did face the technical issues which affected some of its system, but the matter had been addressed quickly. The other one scenario is according to the Malaysia Airlines. Malaysia Airlines is the first company to highlight that CIMB was experiencing a technical glitch with its credit card payment system. At that time, Malaysia Airlines users were advised to use CIMB clicks or other alternative payment methods. The next scenario is about the phishing attacks. Okay, as we know, the CIMB Click site is the CIMB Bank's online banking website where customers can access online banking, insurance, and share trading. Okay, customers can also use the service to pay bills, inquire about the account balance, and perform a variety of other financial transactions. Recently in Malaysia, we have seen the phishing link attack targeting CIMB Clicks Bank customers that combine some common social engineering, or we call scare tactics, with some newer technical misdirection techniques, which are tiny URL. One of the tactics that have been used in this scheme is to obfuscate the false phishing link by employing a URL shortening web service like tiny URL to transform it into a shortened URL. The attacker was able to prevent the victim from hovering over the link to notice that the URL destination is not the one intended by using the shortened URL. The last scenario is related to the insider attack, but unfortunately, insider attack scenario cannot be searched because there is no more news about this attack occur in the CIMB group. For the next content is a solution and recommendation. Okay, for this content, I will pass to the next person to present in detail about this.
Okay, as for the solution and recommendation, we got preparation and action taken for ransomware attack. So for the ransomware attack, make sure that CIMB has the most recent security patches for the operating system and programs from the software suppliers to close known vulnerabilities in operating system, browser, and web plugin. Remember to patch early and regularly. While having antivirus installed is a good idea, it may not be adequate to detect and remove ransomware fully. This is because it can detect them, but only if a specific sort of ransomware is included in their database. Antivirus software should be updated by its developer to detect a new ransomware. Second is, the business must conduct testing. It's simple to schedule backups and get back to work. However, testing could mean the difference between a good recovery and a lengthy period of downtime. It's a good idea to test backups on a regular basis to guarantee that they are entirely recoverable. Many IT administration will run through test scenario as well. This allows them to assess their ability to prevent downtime in the event of a range of simulated incidents such as ransomware. Okay, third is must take a regular backup. At all costs, it is best to avoid an attack. We must take a regular backup in order to do so. Taking a regular backup allows the organization to assure that even ransomware affect the system, it will still have a backup image created before the infection. CIMB Bank must assure that backups are taken as frequently as necessary to meet the recovery goals. To guarantee that we have enough data redundancy, replicate the backup to another storage repository and to the cloud should be done.
Next is defense from phishing attack. There are 4 layers of defending. So for the first and foremost in terms of layer 1 defense, which is implementing anti-spoofing. So CIMB Bank should make it difficult for attacker to access customer by making it more difficult for email from the domains to be spoofed. Then CIMB also can limit the information available to the attacker by assisting employees in understanding how sharing personal information are will affect them. And next is by filtering or blocking a phishing email before it reaches user. So by doing that, it not only will reduce the probability of phishing incident, but it will also reduce the amount of time user need to spend to check and report the emails. Or layer two is identifying and reporting suspected phishing email. So responding to email and clicking on links is an important aspect of the modern workplace. So expecting users to be vigilant all of the time is impractical because it's normal. So the second step is to make easier for the user to spot any bogus request. So attackers might take advantage of processes to dupe a user into handling of sensitive information, such as their password or making any illegal payments. Next, for layer 3 is preventing user from unintentionally installing malware from phishing emails and limiting administrator accounts to those who need them. As we all know, administrator accounts should not be used for checking email or browsing the internet. Then business should deploy a proxy server either on premise or in the cloud to block any attempt to access websites that have been identified as hosting malware or phishing campaign. And then we can use effective authentication and authorization to safeguard our account. For example, we can limit the likelihood of employee sharing password across their personal and business account. Last but not least, the layer 4, which is the final layer. So CIMB Bank must respond to the issue as soon as possible. So security events will occur in every organization at some point. So make sure to be prepared to notice them immediately and respond in a structured manner. Ascertain that the organization understands what to do in the event of various types of incidents.
So for the minimize the risk of insider attack, first of all, we must include insider threat awareness in regular security training. Before granting access to any computer system, all new workers and contractors should be trained on security awareness. Prepare the staff for social engineering assaults, active shooter situation, and sensitive data left out in the open by training and testing them. Perform their own phishing assaults on their mailbox, for example, or conduct social engineering attacks over the phone. If somebody fails this test, make sure they receive additional training. The company also have to encourage employees to report security vulnerabilities and educate them on how they can help lessen the threat of insider. Second, by defining specific security agreement, including access limitation and monitoring capabilities. Cloud service provider expand on organization networks perimeter and expose harmful insider to new attack vector. Perform a risk assessment of the data intend to outsource to a cloud service provider, especially if it contains sensitive information such as intellectual property or financial information. Ascertain that the service provider poses an acceptable degree of risk and that the security policies are better comparable to our own company. Recognize how the service provider handles data security. Also identify and confirm the responsible person for restricting logical and physical access to organizational asset in the cloud. Next is separation of duties and least privilege should be enforced. Demand to users permission to copy data to removable media and consider requiring the data to be encrypted. It requires two system administrators permission to delete essential data or make configuration changes. Set up role-based access restriction and group policy to prohibit employees from accessing information or services that aren't necessary for their profession, and make sure that administrators have separate distinct account for administrative and non-administrative tasks.
In conclusion, any corporations and organizations are at risk of cyber attack at any time, anywhere. So, finance corporations like CIMB Bank are no exception for the cyber attacks. So, as we all know, the biggest risks faced by CIMB Bank are ransomware attack, phishing attack, and insider attack. There are few ways that we can use to prevent this attack or minimize the damage by deploying anti-cyber attacks software and hardware, enforce separation of duties and least privilege, prepare backup, define explicit security agreements for any cloud services, and train all new employee and contractors in security awareness before giving them access to any computer system. And CIMB Bank simply had to invest a bit into fortifying their system to ensure each business transaction went smoothly.
I think that's all from us. Thank you.